My parents gave my sister $10 million at my father's will reading. Then they looked at me and said, "You've always been independent. We know you'll figure it out. No, we love you. No, this is hard for all of us." Not even a sorry. Just 10 million to my sister, and nothing to me. Not even a car. Not even a sentimental letter. Just a silent message, loud and clear. "You don't belong." I didn't cry right then. I didn't scream or storm out. I sat there like a ghost, watching my entire family act like this was normal. Like it was a boardroom meeting. Like I hadn't just been disowned in front of people I thought loved me. But the truth is, I'd been invisible for a long, long time. That was just the moment I finally believed it. It was a rainy Thursday afternoon when the reading happened. Dad had been gone just 12 days. Everything still smelled like his cologne, cigars and cedar and engine oil. His shoes were still by the front door. I sat on the far end of the mahogany table in the study, next to the window. Mom sat stiffly at the head. My sister, Grace, sat beside her, perfectly dressed in a black pencil dress and heels that clicked like weapons against the floor. The attorney cleared his throat. "Jameson Prescott's last will and testament," he read aloud, "has been signed, witnessed, and notarized per the requirements of the state. We will now begin." My stomach twisted. Grace was twirling the end of her hair like she was bored. Mom was drinking from a crystal glass like it was her usual Wednesday scotch. I was the only one with red eyes and a knot in my chest. It started simple. His vintage car went to Grace. His watch collection? Also Grace. The lake house where he used to take me fishing every summer? To Grace, for her future family. My mouth went dry. I waited for my name. Waited for anything. Then the attorney said, "And the financial estate, totaling $10 million in assets and cash, is to be transferred into a trust for Grace Prescott, effective immediately." I blinked. Froze. The room didn't move. Only me. Only my heart. "And Rebecca?" I asked quietly. The lawyer looked at me, then at Mom. Mom spoke before he could. "Rebecca, your father and I always admired your independence. You've never needed help. You've always carved your own path. This isn't about love, sweetheart. It's about reward. And Grace, well, she's the one who stayed." Stayed. I whispered. I was in grad school. I was working. I called every week. "We're not doing this," Mom said sharply. "You don't understand the pressure we've been under. Your father wanted what was fair. Fair. $10 million. All to Grace. Nothing for me." The room started spinning. Not literally, but in that slow, suffocating way where your ears ring and your spine goes cold. I thought of all the times I'd driven for hours just to mow their lawn when Dad was sick. The time I took a semester off to help Grace after her first divorce. The time I emptied my own savings to pay their tax lien. But none of that mattered now. Apparently, I was too independent. Apparently, I didn't stay. Apparently, love had a price tag, and I was too expensive to keep. Grace didn't even look at me. Not once. She sat there like a queen receiving tribute. And when the reading was over, she hugged Mom. They clinked glasses. And they walked out without saying goodbye. I sat there alone in the study, staring at my hands like they didn't belong to me. "You okay?" the lawyer asked softly. I didn't answer. Because what was I supposed to say? "No worries, I just found out I'm the family ghost." I drove home that night in silence. No music. No calls. Just the rain against the windshield, and my own voice screaming inside my head. "You're nothing. You were never wanted." They gave her everything. I didn't sleep that night. Didn't eat the next day. I stared at the ceiling in my cheap one-bedroom apartment, wondering how the hell I had let myself believe I was part of that family. You want to know the truth? It had always been like this. Grace got the front seat. Grace got the new clothes. Grace got the praise, even when she failed. And me? I got, "Don't be difficult, Rebecca." I got, "Grace is going through a phase." I got, "You'll understand when you're older." I was the shadow. The fallback. The girl who cleaned up the messes and got blamed for the broken plates anyway. There was one year when I was 15, I won a statewide writing competition. It was a huge deal. I had my name in the paper. I got invited to a summer program. When I told my parents, they smiled politely and said, "Grace just got asked to prom." And that was the end of that. They never came to the award ceremony. They never even asked how it went. So maybe it shouldn't have surprised me when the will left me with nothing. But it did. And something in me broke that day, not loudly, but like a bridge snapping deep underwater. No one heard it. But everything shifted. I took a week off work. Not because I was grieving, but because I couldn't function. I canceled plans, ignored texts, and sat in bed with old journals and memories I hadn't touched in years. And then I did something I never thought I would. I wrote a letter. Not to my family. To myself. And it started with one sentence. You don't owe them anything anymore. Not love. Not forgiveness. Not explanations. That was the first time I really saw it. How much of my life had been built around earning their love. Straight A's. Perfect attendance. Being polite. Being useful. Being invisible. And still, it had never been enough. So what if I stopped trying? What if I stopped living to be chosen and started living to win? The day after the will reading, I deleted every contact from my phone. My mother. Grace. Even extended cousins who I thought might be on my side. There was no point. There was no side. It wasn't a battle I'd lost. It was a war that had ended a long time ago, and I was the last one to realize it was over. I didn't leave them. They let me go. The moment they saw me as a burden instead of a daughter. The moment they decided I didn't need help because I was strong. Strength was always an excuse to ignore me. You're independent. You always manage somehow. Grace needs it more. I had heard it all my life. And now I was done. I put in my 2 weeks at the dull, underpaid marketing job I had dragged myself to every day. I wasn't sad. I wasn't scared. I was numb. It was time to stop surviving and start building. Even if that meant starting from nothing again. I packed everything into 2 suitcases, broke my lease, and boarded a bus headed to Chicago. Why Chicago? No reason really. Just that it was loud enough for me to disappear in. Big enough to get lost in. Fast enough to forget. I rented a single room in a 5-bedroom apartment. The walls were thin. The window leaked cold air. The shower took 10 minutes to heat. But it was mine. No one there knew who I used to be. No one expected me to smile politely or listen to Grace's endless relationship drama or call mom on Sundays. For the first time in my life, I was invisible on purpose. And it felt like breathing for the first time. I wish I could say I jumped into self-improvement right away. I didn't. I lay in bed for weeks. I watched TV I didn't care about. I stared at the ceiling at 3 a.m. wondering how many things I had done in my life just to feel included. The truth is, I had no identity without them. So I started small. I made a list. List number 1, things I'm good at. Writing. Branding. Presenting ideas. Reading people. Surviving quietly. That last one made me laugh a little. List number 2, things I want to build. A life no one can take from me. A business that makes me proud. A home that feels like safety. A version of myself I don't have to prove. And then came the last list. List number 3, things I'll never do again. Beg for love. Compete with grace. Try to impress people who can't be pleased. Accept silence as kindness. I got a part-time job at a local bookstore to pay rent. It was peaceful. Quiet. No pressure to perform. No one cared about my past. On off days, I'd work on freelance branding gigs. Small stuff. Etsy shops, Instagram bios, local cafes who needed help writing about us pages. Slowly money came in. Not much, but more than before. I took online classes at night. Not for a degree, but for skills. Real things. Copywriting. Digital marketing. UX, SEO. Branding psychology. I was obsessed. Not just with learning, but with creating something that no one could erase from me. 2 years in, I launched my own branding studio. Nothing flashy. Just a sleek website, a few clients, and a promise. I help people tell their stories. Because no one helped me tell mine. I didn't advertise my face. Didn't use my last name. Didn't share family photos. It wasn't anonymity. It was rebirth. There's something freeing about realizing the world doesn't care about your history. They care about results. They care about service. They care about the version of you that shows up. No one asked what my parents thought of me. No one cared that I was the daughter who got nothing. All they wanted to know was, can you build my brand? Can you help my business grow? Can you turn this into something bigger? Yes. Yes, I can. And I did. 3 years after the will reading, I was unrecognizable, even to myself. New haircut. New city. New name, legally changed. New apartment. And a 6-figure business with repeat clients in 4 countries. I had employees. I had a lawyer. I had a CPA. And best of all, I had peace. No more chasing approval. No more crying in silence. No more sitting at the end of family tables like I was just lucky to be there. One day, a new client reached out. She ran a luxury fashion startup based in New York. High-end, image-obsessed, elite clientele. She wanted a full rebrand. Tone, story, positioning, digital footprint. The whole package. We've got investors coming in, she said, and we need to look untouchable. Her name? Grace Wallace. Her company name? Prescott and Rose. And that's when I realized. Grace had kept the family name. She built her identity around it. Around the family legacy that I had been cut from. I didn't respond right away. I read her intake form 3 times. She didn't recognize me. Of course she didn't. I had changed everything, including the name she used to mock. But I knew her. And I knew. This was it. This was the opening. Not for petty revenge. For poetic justice. Grace didn't know who she had just hired. But I knew her. And I knew exactly how she thought. Grace was the type to love aesthetic, but not depth. She liked things that looked expensive, even if they were hollow underneath. Which was, coincidentally, a perfect summary of her personality. She hadn't changed much in the branding questionnaire she submitted. Still vain. Still shallow. Still obsessed with her image. What surprised me most? She was insecure. The confident, smug sister I once knew was now riddled with desperation. We need to look like a legacy brand, she wrote. I want our brand story to feel emotional, generational, irreplaceable. Funny. That's what I had always wanted for myself. A legacy. A place. A name. She took mine. And now she wanted me to build hers. So I did. I signed the contract under my business name only, Reverie Studio. No personal identity. No photo. Just sleek documents, scheduled Zooms, and my project manager acting as a middlewoman. Grace never questioned it. She praised the strategy decks. Loved the messaging framework. Even cried in one meeting. You understand me better than anyone, she told my project manager. This is exactly how I want people to see me. I watched the recordings silently. She had no idea she was talking about herself to the person she abandoned. The one she helped erase. And now I was the one giving her a new name. On my terms. In every brand, there's a story. And in Grace's story, I laced the truth like poison beneath sugar. I wrote the core brand message around the idea of unseen strength. Of being overlooked, underestimated, and finally rising. Grace thought it was about her. But it was me. Every word. Every metaphor. And she used it proudly. She posted a quote from one of my decks on her Instagram bio. What they left behind became my fuel. Her followers applauded. She got praise from influencers. People called her inspiring. And I watched, smiling, knowing that quote wasn't hers. It was mine. As the rebrand progressed, we needed access to internal documents, budgets, reports, vision plans. That's when I started seeing it. The crux. Grace had no clue how to run a business. She was bleeding money on influencer events. She was paying for press releases no one read. She spent $40,000 on a launch party where the guest list was 70% her college friends and exes. Her COO was frustrated. Her staff turnover rate was insane. And worst of all, she was preparing to pitch to angel investors with no profit, no growth, and a pitch deck full of air. My team knew she wouldn't last 6 more months at this rate. We flagged this in our reports. We offered to help restructure her back end. She refused. I just need the brand to look perfect, she said. We'll figure out the rest later. She wanted the image, the shine, the illusion. But illusions collapse, especially when you're standing on a cliff of lies. 3 months in, during a strategy call, she asked, "Would your team be open to helping us pitch to investors?" We agreed, but with one condition. The founder must present, but we'll write the pitch. You'll say what we write, nothing else. Understood. She agreed immediately. She loved the praise, loved the idea that experts believed in her. So we wrote the pitch deck. But this time, we embedded every risky metric, every inflated expense, every ridiculous choice she'd made, cleverly wrapped in investor language. We didn't lie. We just told the truth with a spotlight. The day of the presentation, Grace beamed. She wore designer everything, had her hair blown out, and even printed personalized gift bags for the investors. Halfway through the pitch, one of them raised a brow. "Are you saying you spent $240,000 in Q2 with 0 customer growth?" She blinked. The brand awareness. That's not what the slide says. Another investor chimed in. "What's your CAC? You don't have it listed." She fumbled, panicked, looked at the slide like it had betrayed her. And behind the scenes, I watched her fall apart. That pitch killed the funding. But she didn't know why. I don't understand. The branding was perfect. What happened? Was it me? Did I say something wrong? No, Grace. You just finally said something true. A week later, my project manager forwarded me an email. From Grace. Subject: "Please thank your founder for me. This whole experience has been humbling. I thought I could do it all alone. But this brand is the only thing still holding me together. Thank them for helping me feel seen." I stared at the message for a long time. She still didn't know it was me. Didn't recognize my fingerprints all over her new identity. Didn't see the irony in feeling seen by the person she had abandoned in the dark. And then came the final message. A direct one. To me. She had figured it out. I don't know how, maybe a sentence I said. Maybe a phrase that clicked. Maybe someone who recognized my voice in the recordings. But all she wrote was, "Rebecca, is it you?" I didn't reply. Instead, I sent her one final invoice. The subject line said, "For everything you took." Grace never sent a second email. She didn't need to. The silence was her reply. The kind that says, "I know what I did. I know you know. And I don't know what to say." But even then, she didn't apologize. Instead, Mom called. For the first time in almost 4 years. I stared at the caller ID like it was a ghost. Her name glowing on the screen like an open wound. And like an idiot, I answered. "Rebecca." She said my name like a question. Like she wasn't sure it still belonged to me. "It's been a while." I said nothing. She cleared her throat. "Grace told me. About the branding firm. That you're the one behind it." I still said nothing. She's embarrassed. But she's also grateful. I almost laughed. Embarrassed? Grateful? That was rich, coming from the woman who once told me, "Grace will be the one to carry the family name. You'll figure something out." Rebecca, Mom continued, she's lost a lot recently. Her marriage is rocky. The business is struggling. She could use support. And there it was. Not a sorry. Not we hurt you. Not we were wrong. Just another polite ask for me to fix what Grace broke. I didn't scream. Didn't cry. Didn't even breathe hard. I just said, "You know what's funny, Mom? I used to dream about this moment." "What moment?" "The moment you'd call me not because you love me, but because you need me." Silence. "You wanted Grace to carry the family name." Looks like she dropped it. Then I hung up. The next month, Grace's company made headlines. Not for success, but for layoffs. Investor pullout. A failed luxury line launch. The press called it a cautionary tale about influencer-led startups. I didn't leak anything. Didn't sabotage her. All I did was let the truth speak for itself. She reached out again. This time through a friend. Someone I used to tutor in college, now working PR in New York. Grace asked if you'd be open to a sit-down. She wants to apologize. She says she means it. I told her, I don't need her apology. I need her to mean it when she says my name. The friend didn't know what I meant. But I did. It happened in a hotel lounge. Public, professional, neutral. Grace walked in like a shadow of who she used to be. Still beautiful. Still put together. But smaller. Like something had deflated inside her. She sat across from me, hands shaking. For a minute, we just stared at each other. I hadn't seen her in person in 7 years. Not since the day she walked down the aisle in my dress. Marrying my fiancé. With our mother's blessing. "Hi," she said finally. "You asked to meet." I did. She took a deep breath. I needed to say something. I waited. "I was horrible to you," she said. "I stole things I didn't even earn. I wanted to be you, but better. I thought if I could have what you had, I'd finally feel worthy." She paused. Eyes wet. "But you were never the problem." I was. "And I'm sorry." I didn't cry. Didn't soften. I nodded. "I believe you." "That's it?" she asked. "You're not going to yell at me? Call me names?" "Why would I?" I shrugged. "You already lost everything you valued. That's more than I could ever take." She sat there stunned. And I leaned in. "You know what I have now, Grace?" "What?" "Freedom. Peace. Purpose. A life built without begging anyone to see me." She looked down. "I don't know how to start over. You start where I did. With nothing. With silence. And with a list of who you never want to become again." I stood up to leave. She grabbed my wrist gently. "Rebecca, wait. What if we work together? You could help me rebuild. Teach me. Show me how." I looked at her hand. Then her eyes. "No," I said. "But I will give you something." She looked confused. "What?" "A name of someone who might help you. A friend of mine in business recovery. But it won't be me." "Why not?" I smiled. "Because helping you grow means carrying you again. And I stopped doing that when you left me at the altar." Her lips parted like she was about to argue. But she didn't. Because I was right. I walked away that day, not with revenge, but with something far better. Reclamation. I didn't want her to suffer. I wanted her to see. To look at me and finally realize. She was always enough. She didn't have to win to deserve love. She just had to survive. And she did more than that. She thrived. I didn't need the $10 million. I had built triple that in silent equity. I didn't need the family name. I had one I gave myself. And I didn't need their love. Because I had my own. A month after I walked away from Grace, I got a letter. It wasn't from her. Not from Mom. Not from anyone I knew was still alive. It was from my father. It arrived in a plain white envelope. No return address. Just my name in his handwriting, that unmistakable blocky print he always used when labeling his tools. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Yellowed slightly with age. Folded 3 times. There was no date. No greeting. Just this. "If you're reading this, it means the will has been read. And you probably hate me. I don't blame you. But you need to know the truth before you erase me completely." Grace always needed help. She needed noise. Flash. Applause. But you were quiet power. You were never loud. But you were always strong. I didn't leave you out because I didn't love you. I left you out because I knew you didn't need anyone's permission to rise. And because I left something else, something bigger. Check the safety deposit box. Number 411. Lakewood Bank. Tell no one. Dad. My hands were shaking when I finished reading it. Why hadn't anyone told me? Why hadn't the lawyer mentioned a second letter? Why would Dad write this in secret? I booked the next flight to Lakewood. I hadn't been back to that town since the funeral. The bank was small and quiet. It still smelled like lemon polish and old carpet. When I showed them the letter and my ID, they nodded solemnly and led me to the back. Inside box 411 was a leather folder, a flash drive, a faded photo of me and Dad at the lake. I was 8, holding up a fish, grinning with my whole face. I sat down and opened the folder first. It was a will, but not the one the family lawyer had read. This one was dated 4 months earlier. In it, the $10 million was split equally between Grace and me. The lake house was left to me. His vintage car? Also to me. His watch collection? To Rebecca, who always showed up on time, even when no one noticed. At the bottom was his signature. Witnessed. Notarized. Legally binding. I sat back in the chair. Stunned. Shaking. So, what the hell happened? I plugged the flash drive into the banker's office computer. There was only one file. A video. Dad, sitting in his work shed. Wearing his flannel. Eyes tired. Voice clear. If you're seeing this, Rebecca, it means they buried the real will. I'm sorry. I thought I could trust your mother. But I had a feeling. She kept pushing me to change it again. To give it all to Grace. She said you didn't need it. That you'd be fine. But sweetheart, you deserve more than fine. You deserve to know that I saw you. Always. The quiet dinners. The way you brought me soup when no one else remembered I was sick. The way you showed up for everyone. You weren't loud. You were light. And I am so proud of you. He paused. Looked down. If they read a different will at that table, it's because they forged it. Or destroyed this one. But this one is real. And it's yours. Fight for it. Or don't. It's your choice now. You've already won where it matters. Then the screen went dark. I could have sued. Could have dragged Mom and Grace through court. The signature was valid. The dates lined up. The witnesses were real. But I didn't want the money anymore. I didn't want their silence. Or their guilt. Or their shame. I wanted the truth. So I exposed it. I posted the will. The video. The timeline. Not in anger. Not as revenge. Just as a record. As proof of who I really was, and who they had tried to erase. I didn't tag anyone. Didn't call Grace. Didn't email Mom. But the post went viral. Daughter discovers hidden will after parents gave everything to her sister. Real inheritance revealed after forged family betrayal. Thousands of comments. Millions of views. And the best part? Everyone knew who I was. Not because I screamed, but because I told the truth. Grace disappeared from the business world. Her startup dissolved. She tried to rebrand herself as a self-awareness speaker. It flopped. Mom moved out of the big house. Sold her social club membership. Faded from the holiday newsletters. I bought the lake house. Renovated it. Hung the photo of me and Dad in the entryway. I didn't do it to be petty. I did it because it was mine. It always had been. I live simply now. Quietly. I write. I build brands. I help women rebuild after they've been torn apart. One of my clients once asked, "Why do you care so much about helping invisible people become visible?" I smiled and said, "Because I used to be one of them. My name is Rebecca. Once forgotten. Once discarded. Once told to go earn my own. So I did. And now, I don't just have my legacy. I built it.